The needle is sterile, the light is clinical, and the atmosphere is thick with a tension that has been simmering for over half a decade. To the casual observer, it is just a piece of surgical steel passing through skin, a common rite of passage for millions of young women across the United States. But for Olivia Plath, this isn't just a cosmetic choice. It is a declaration of independence from a world that tried to dictate the very shape of her soul. Welcome to a crossroads that fans of TLC's Welcome to Plathville never thought they'd see. As the sharp edge of the piercer's tool meets its mark, we aren't just watching a reality star get a navel piercing. We are witnessing the final, visceral shedding of a fundamentalist cocoon. This is the moment the girl who was once forbidden from tasting sugar, watching television, or wearing a skirt above her ankles decides that her body is finally, irrevocably, her own. The cameras are rolling, the microphones are hot, and the stakes couldn't be higher for a family already fractured beyond recognition. If you thought the divorce was the end of the drama, you were wrong. This is the beginning of a new chapter where the rules of the Plath household no longer apply, and the ripples of this single choice are about to collide with a legacy of strict religious traditionalism. Today, we go beyond the tabloid headlines and the Instagram clips to investigate the deeper cultural, psychological, and familial implications of Olivia Plath's latest move. You can't stop the girl, but you can certainly try to understand the fire that drives her. To understand why a simple navel piercing has sent shockwaves through the Plathville fandom, we have to travel back to rural Cairo, Georgia. This is where Kim and Barry Plath raised their 9 children on a sprawling 55-acre farm, isolated from the corrupting influences of modern American society. The Plath family wasn't just conservative. They were practitioners of a hyper-sheltered lifestyle often associated with the quiverful movement, though they never explicitly claimed a label. In this world, the internet was a stranger, soda was a sin, and the outside world was a looming threat to the sanctity of their faith. The children were homeschooled, kept away from pop culture, and raised to believe that modesty and obedience were the ultimate virtues. It was an ecosystem designed to keep the world out and the family in, a delicate balance of authority and isolation that worked perfectly until a young photographer named Olivia stepped into the frame. When Olivia married the eldest Plath son, Ethan, she wasn't just joining a family. She was entering a battlefield. Olivia, who had herself grown up in a similar fundamentalist environment, had already begun her journey of deconstruction. She saw the beauty in the Plath children, but also what she perceived as the suffocating nature of their upbringing. Her arrival acted as a catalyst, a chemical reaction that began to dissolve the rigid structures Kim and Barry had spent decades building. The conflict wasn't just about different parenting styles, it was a fundamental clash of worldviews. On one side stood the Plath parents, representing tradition, control, and a specific interpretation of biblical living. On the other stood Olivia, representing autonomy, secular exploration, and the radical idea that children should be allowed to choose their own paths. This ideological war eventually led to a total estrangement between Olivia and her in-laws, a rift that split the family down the middle and forced the Plath siblings to choose sides between the parents they loved and the sister-in-law who offered them a glimpse of the real world. The timeline of the Plath saga is marked by these slow-burning fires of rebellion. From Mariah Plath moving out and getting her first tattoo to Micah Plath pursuing a modeling career in Los Angeles, the Plathville brand became synonymous with the tension between religious roots and modern wings. However, the most significant casualty of this war was the marriage between Ethan and Olivia. For years, viewers watched as Ethan struggled to bridge the gap between his wife's desire for growth and his family's demand for loyalty. Their divorce, finalized amidst a storm of public speculation, didn't just end a marriage. It liberated Olivia from the final ties that bound her to the Plath name. This context is vital because it frames every action she takes now not just as a lifestyle choice, but as a symbolic reclamation. The navel piercing is the latest piece of a mosaic of autonomy, following her travels across Europe, her relocation to the West Coast, and her vocal advocacy for deconstruction. The specifics of Olivia's decision to get a navel piercing unfolded with the kind of calculated transparency that has made her a polarizing yet fascinating figure in reality television. According to reports from those close to the production and Olivia's own social media documentation, the decision was not a spur-of-the-moment whim. Instead, it was portrayed as a milestone in her journey of reparenting herself. The scene, captured for the latest season of Welcome to Plathville, shows Olivia entering a high-end piercing studio, a space that stands in stark contrast to the rustic, modest aesthetic of the Georgia farm where her journey began. She isn't the nervous teenager most people are when they get their first body modification. She is a woman in her mid-20s, approaching the chair with a sense of intentionality that borders on the ritualistic. The timeline of events leading up to the piercing suggests a woman who is meticulously checking off the boxes of forbidden experiences. For the Plath family, body modification was historically viewed as a desecration of the temple, the body. While Olivia Plath had already broken the seal on tattoos and piercings years prior, Olivia's move feels. To truly grasp the weight of this moment, we have to look at it through the lens of legal, psychological, and social expertise. From a psychological standpoint, experts in religious trauma and deconstruction point out that reclaiming the body is a primary stage of healing for those who have left high-control groups. Dr. Elizabeth Henderson, a specialist in religious trauma, suggests that for individuals raised in environments where their bodies were subject to communal surveillance, especially regarding modesty, acts like getting a piercing or a tattoo serve as a neurological reset. It is a way for the individual to prove to their own subconscious that they are the sole authority over their physical form. By documenting this on Welcome to Plathville, Olivia is essentially performing a public therapy session, showing other deconstructors that the sky doesn't fall when you break a taboo. From a media and financial perspective, the Olivia versus the Plath's narrative is a goldmine for TLC. Reality TV thrives on the firsts, the first drink, the first date after divorce, the first body modification. Olivia understands the currency of her own transformation. Every rebellious act she performs is a data point for her brand as a survivor of fundamentalism. While critics argue she is milking the drama, media analysts suggest she is simply taking control of her narrative in a way few reality stars manage to do. She is no longer a supporting character in the Plath family story. She has become the protagonist of her own coming-of-age story, even if that coming-of-age is happening in her mid-20s. The legal and social implications of her divorce also play a role here. In many conservative religious circles, a woman's body is often legally and socially tied to her husband's approval. By finalizing her divorce from Ethan and subsequently engaging in these acts of self-expression, Olivia is navigating the legal transition from wife to individual. Financial analysts note that Olivia's social media engagement spikes whenever she shares these personal milestones, suggesting that her path towards secular independence is not just emotionally fulfilling, but economically viable. She is building a career as an influencer and photographer that is entirely separate from the Plathville farm, and the navel piercing is a visual shorthand for that brand of unapologetic independence. As soon as the news of the piercing hit the digital ether, the American public responded with the kind of polarized intensity usually reserved for political elections. On one side of the digital aisle, you have the Team Olivia faction. These are largely millennials and Gen Z viewers who see her as a hero, a queen of deconstruction. On TikTok, the hashtag Olivia Plath is filled with edits of her most defiant moments, with the navel piercing being hailed as the ultimate power move. Fans argue that she has suffered enough under the scrutiny of Kim and Barry, and that she deserves to enjoy her youth in whatever way she chooses. For them, the piercing isn't trashy or rebellious. It's healing. However, the Team Plath or traditionalist faction tells a different story. In the comment sections of Facebook and Instagram, a more critical narrative emerges. Many viewers, some of whom share the Plath's conservative values, see Olivia's choices as a descent into vanity and a typical path of someone who has lost their way. They argue that she has corrupted the Plath children and that her focus on external changes like piercings and tattoos is a sign of internal emptiness. She's trying too hard to prove she's free, one viral comment read, but she's still obsessed with the family she left. This division reflects a larger cultural rift in America regarding the role of religion, the definition of modesty, and the rights of the individual versus the expectations of the family unit. The cultural impact of this debate cannot be overstated. Welcome to Plathville has become a mirror for many Americans who are dealing with their own family estrangements or religious shifts. When Olivia gets a navel piercing, it triggers conversations in living rooms across the country about parental boundaries and the limits of traditionalism. Is she a pioneer of personal freedom, or is she a cautionary tale of what happens when you abandon your roots? The trending conversations don't just stay on the show. They bleed into discussions about main character energy, the ethics of reality TV, and the specific pressures faced by women in the public eye to remain wholesome or relatable. Looking ahead, the navel piercing is a clear indicator that Olivia Plath is not interested in a reconciliation with the traditionalist lifestyle. Her career as a photographer is thriving, and she has successfully rebranded herself as a lifestyle influencer who prioritizes travel, aesthetics, and mental health. We can expect to see her continue to push the boundaries of her former life. Industry insiders suggest that Olivia may be eyeing her own spin-off or a more permanent role as a commentator on religious trauma. She has moved beyond the Plathville farm, and her future likely involves more secular milestones, perhaps more tattoos, more unconventional travel, and a very public exploration of her new dating life. For the Plath family, Olivia's continued transformation remains a thorn in their side. As long as she is on the show, her presence serves as a constant reminder of the world they tried to keep their children away from. It also puts pressure on the Plath siblings who are still navigating their relationships with their parents. Will Mariah and Micah follow Olivia's lead toward a more wild lifestyle, or will they pull back toward their parents' values out of a sense of guilt? The navel piercing move signals that Olivia is no longer waiting for the Plaths to catch up or approve. She is moving forward at full speed, and the consequences for the Plathville brand are significant. The show is shifting from a story about a quirky large family to a gritty drama about the permanent dissolution of a fundamentalist dream. The heart of this story isn't a piece of jewelry or a reality TV contract. It's a human being trying to figure out who she is after being told who she should be for 20 years. We care about Olivia's navel piercing because we all have navel piercings of our own, those small, seemingly insignificant choices we make to prove that we are in charge of our lives. Whether it's changing a career path that our parents chose for us, leaving a relationship that no longer fits, or simply speaking our truth for the first time, Olivia's journey is the American journey of self-discovery. There is a profound sadness in the Plathville story, the loss of a family unit, the pain of a public divorce, and the what-ifs that haunt every episode. But there is also a sense of triumph. When we see Olivia in that piercing chair, we see someone who survived. We see the girl who was once scared of a sip of Coke, now standing tall in her own skin, unafraid of a needle or a camera. We see the fan perspective, the young women who watch her and feel empowered to set their own boundaries. We see the family angle, the complicated, messy reality that sometimes, to save yourself, you have to lose the people you love. This story is far from over, and we want to hear where you stand. Is Olivia's new look a symbol of hard-won freedom, or is it just another reality TV stunt for attention? How do you feel about the way she has handled her departure from the Plath family? If you found value in this deep dive into the cultural and psychological layers of Welcome to Plathville, make sure to hit that like button. It helps us keep bringing you these investigative reports. Join the conversation in the comments below. We read them all, and we want to know your take on the Olivia versus the Plath saga. And if you want to stay updated on the latest breaking news and deep dive analyses of your favorite stories, subscribe and turn on those notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next in Plathville. Thanks for watching. To witness Olivia Plath in 2026 is to see a woman who has successfully performed a complete software update on her own life. While the navel piercing was a symbolic physical marker, the data points behind her journey since the finalization of her divorce from Ethan reveal a meticulously crafted new identity. According to recent reports and her own year-end reflections, Olivia didn't just leave a marriage. She launched a global solo expedition. In 2024 alone, she reportedly took 61 flights, visited 11 countries, and serviced over 74 professional photography clients. This isn't just travel. It's a high-velocity escape from the gravitational pull of Cairo, Georgia. For a girl who once needed permission to travel to a neighboring town, this statistical explosion of movement is the ultimate rebuttal to the Plath family's doctrine of isolation. The breaking details of Olivia's current life suggest that the navel piercing was merely the gateway drug to a much larger transformation. Sources close to the production of Welcome to Plathville suggest that Season 6 was a turning point where Olivia ceased to be Ethan's wife and became a standalone brand. This transition has not been without its casualties. While she has been candid about her glow-up and her new dating life, specifically her relationship with a man named Brendan, she has also been transparent about the stillness, grief, and uncomfortability that comes with deconstruction. This level of emotional honesty is a sharp departure from the keep sweet mentality often found in fundamentalist circles, and it is exactly what keeps her audience glued to their screens. While Olivia is busy collecting stamps in her passport and piercings in the studio, the rest of the Plath family appears to be navigating a much more turbulent landscape. The contrast between Olivia's trajectory and the Plath siblings' current reality is stark. As of early 2026, the family dynamic has shifted from a unified front into a fragmented collection of individuals trying to redefine themselves in the wake of Kim and Barry's divorce. In a move that shocked the fanbase, Olivia Plath, long considered the most obedient and religious of the children, recently tied the knot after a whirlwind engagement to Zach Wise. The wedding, described by sources as a deeply traditional and religious affair, serves as the perfect ideological counterpoint to Olivia's secular rebellion. Ethan Plath, meanwhile, has officially moved on. After months of public mourning and a visible struggle to reconcile his upbringing with his modern reality, Ethan introduced a new girlfriend to the world as 2025 began. This development is crucial because it signals the definitive end of the Olivia era for the Plath family. For years, Olivia was the scapegoat for every internal conflict. Now that she is physically and legally removed from the family, the Plaths are forced to face their own issues without her as a distraction. Expert analysis suggests that the villain arc Olivia was often cast in by the family is now being redirected toward other members, notably Micah's new partner, Veronica, who has already begun to face the same outsider scrutiny that once plagued Olivia.